I'm only going to play you a little bit of this, but I saw this guy here from the Telegraph interviewing Jacob Rees-Mogg, and I thought you'd be interested, so let's take a look.
Hello and welcome to Off Script. My name is Stephen Edgington. 13 years after the Conservatives entered government, and since then illegal and legal migration has soared, Britain's institutions have been captured by left-wing zealots. The national debt has surpassed 100% of our GDP. The tax burden is the highest since the Second World War, and we are seemingly governed by a party indistinguishable from that of the left-wing opposition.
Holy cow! What, the Tories are the same as Labour? What's he talking about? Indistinguishable, but oh, forget it. Anyway, let's go to Mogg.
To discuss his party's record in government, I'm joined by Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg, MP. Has multiculturalism failed?
Now, this looks a lot like a sketch show. The whole setting, it's just bizarre.
The problem with that question is it's all in the definition of multiculturalism. What do you mean by it? Now, if you say, does the UK have a remarkably placid race relations system within our country?
Placid?
And that's multiculturalism, then it's succeeded. If, on the other hand, you want to say, have we got a system where all cultures are equal and respected, and that perhaps we've lost some of our own values, then you may say that it's failed. So it depends definitionally what you're meaning. And I think we should be very reassured by the good temper of British society.
What's he getting at here?
Particularly when you compare it to the United States.
I suppose when one looks to other examples of nations which are less multicultural and more homogenous, like Poland and Japan.
I'm sorry, but is this guy AI? He doesn't look real.
They don't experience similar issues that we've had in Britain. So when one could look to recent riots around the Palestine protests in London, after the single worst killing of Jews in a day since the Holocaust, you saw these terrible experiences on the streets of London. We've seen the horrible scandal of the grooming.
Now, I feel that Jacob Rees-Mogg starts talking a lot of rubbish now, so let's let it carry on.
Gangs across much of England. We've seen several terrorist attacks over the last years. There have been inter-ethnic conflicts in places like Leicester, and there are many divisions and tensions inside British society. So I suppose when you can compare us to the United States and say that we're a success, but when one compares us to, let's say, those other nations I mentioned, perhaps it's been a failure.
Or you compare us to France, and we've been an enormous success, and that we have a much more integrated society than they have achieved in France.
That's interesting that he says that.
It's all a question of scale, isn't it? That if you have mass migration, which we have had now over a number of decades, you will create tensions and you will create community tensions. And you talk about issues like grooming gangs. Grooming gangs is straightforward illegality.
Duh, right.
It's not really multiculturalism. I think to say that there is a culture of child abuse is being far too tolerant. I'm in favour of tolerance of people's belief, but not of behaviours that are fundamentally wrong.
What's he talking about? He thinks he's being clever. This is just a weird way to talk about multiculturalism and the subject of grooming gangs.
And I mean, this is actually Lockean, if you like, that Locke's view of tolerance was that you should tolerate anything that is legal in the ordinary law, but you don't tolerate things that are illegal within the ordinary law. His example was human sacrifice. You wouldn't tolerate that if a religion did it, because killing people is just illegal.
I've had enough. Turn it off. If you want to hear the rest of the video, I've left a link in the description below. If not, click here for a bit more of Jacob Rees-Mogg.